Hi everybody, welcome to my Cooking on the Bay kitchen. I'm Tonya Jennings. I know you normally, or some of you normally come here to cook, but these days I'm going to come and cook with you in your home. So I thought I'd do these videos from time to time and hopefully you'll enjoy them and you'll cook along with me. The recipes will be on the website and they are on the website now. So today we're going to cook a pumpkin, mascarpone, tomato and onion and garlic quiche. Frittata actually, because we're not using a pastry base, so it's a frittata. I've already cooked the pumpkin. I've roasted the pumpkin with the onion, the tomato and the garlic in the skins, sprinkled with a little bit of chilli. That's ready to go. I've actually also pre-cooked a whole frittata for you so that when it comes out of the oven you can see the finished product. I'm going to be cooking that, and while this is cooking in the oven, supposedly, I'm also going to be cooking a mussel and saffron and pumpkin soup for you. So we'll have a couple of things going at once. So getting back to our frittata, I've peeled and prepared the pumpkin as I just said. So when it is roasted like it has been, I actually will then put it in the base of our buttered frittata dish. Okay. So I've just done a little bit beforehand. So what I'm going to do is basically make up the mixture for you now. We've got our eggs and I've partly put those into my jug. So we've got 6 eggs which are going in. We're going to whisk it round to break up the eggs. And we will add the mascarpone, 125 grams or so of mascarpone. Now someone asked me about mascarpone and they said they can't get mascarpone where they are, but if you would like just to substitute it with some sour cream or some extra cream, that's perfectly fine. Perhaps a mixture of cream and water. But the mascarpone just gives a nice, interesting taste, but sour cream will be perfectly fine. So I pop that in there, we'll whisk it round. Then we will add our grated nutmeg, our cream. Now the cream, we've got 100 mils of cream, and because I don't use milk because of the sugar content in milk, I simply dilute the cream with some water. So I'm going to put 100 mils of water in, 100 mils of water. So that's my cream. We'll whisk that around together. And to that we're going to be adding the rest of our ingredients, which are some chopped up parsley, sage and chives, which came from my garden. You could have oregano or other herbs if you wanted to, but sage is a very nice mix with pumpkin, I think. So just whisk that down a little bit. We're going to have some grated nutmeg because nutmeg is fabulous with all of these sorts of dishes, these egg frittatas, and it's lovely with pumpkin. So a few grates of that. I've also put plenty of salt and pepper on my pumpkin when I roasted it, but we will add a little bit of salt and pepper now as well. And I'll put in a little bit of the Parmigiano-Reggiano. There's about 80 grams in here. I'm just going to put a little bit in there because I'm actually going to sprinkle it over there so it gets evenly distributed over the frittata. So now, while we've just got that all happening there, we'll just put a few more bits in here. Now when you bake or roast your pumpkin, it's nice to use a shallow-sided baking dish, as I have here, and it roasts the pumpkin nicely. If you get a few burnt bits, that's nice. It adds to the flavour. I like that. The same with the tomato. Now in the recipe you'll see that I've actually said semi-dried tomatoes. I actually didn't have any, so I have used I've used just fresh tomatoes. With the garlic, which is in its skin, just squeeze it out and squeeze it over the top, or you can squeeze it into the egg and milk mixture if you like, which is nice. I'll just squeeze it in. I'll just check my timer. Oh, yes, it's just got a minute to go. I'll just have a quick look in the oven and see how it's going in the oven. Oh, nearly ready. That's good. Now I have got, if you think that it's getting a little bit too brown on top, I've got a little bit of baking paper which we'll put over it so that we won't burn it. We don't want it burnt. So just sprinkle that around. Now I've got some thyme here too. Where's my thyme? Yes, a little bit of sprinkling of thyme. Again, I don't have fresh thyme anymore in the garden, so I'm just going to use a little bit of dry thyme, which I have dried when I did have thyme. When I did have thyme. That's funny. And I'm also going to sprinkle some of the cheese around so that it's evenly distributed, as I said before. Just a little bit. And I'm going to do the same with my chives. You can probably have a bit more pumpkin in there, don't you? Considering I made extra. And you want to eat it. Whatever's left over you can have in your dinner tonight. So just fill it out. Oh, there you go, there's the one in the oven. I'll just wash my hands, just check it and see how it looks. Hopefully it looks all good. There you go, let's just see. You get this, Michael? Oh, that looks pretty good to me. So, oh Michael, I'll bring it over to you so you can have a good look. So what do you think? That looks delicious, doesn't it? I think it looks delicious. That's what you're going to end up with. And if you wanted to, when you're going to serve it, you could just sprinkle a few fresh herbs over that too, and with a lovely salad and avocado, it's going to be our dinner tonight. So thank you for helping me cook my dinner. Oh look, I've got here the bit of the skin from the Parmigiano. I always keep those and put them in the freezer in a little snap-lock bag so that when I'm making a soup, such as a minestrone or my Napoli sauce, I always put it in because it adds a little bit of extra flavour. Okay, so back here, we've got our nutmeg, our crushed up garlic. We'll pour that over the frittata. Oh, without the onion, without the garlic skin. That's a bit of onion skin. If by chance your bowl or your frittata mould is big and I might just take that one out. We don't really want such a burnt out one on top. If it is big and you don't have enough of this mixture, just whisk up a little bit more cream and add it. That's the garlic in there. I'll tuck that down there. So that's how mine was with that one there when it went into the oven. Those little bits there are garlic. So I probably should have cut them up a bit better so they don't come out in the whole piece, but that's okay. You might like to do that when you're at home. Cut up the garlic a little bit, even though it's roasted, just so that it doesn't come out in big blobs. I don't mind the big blobs, but you mightn't like that. Just put a little bit of extra Parmigiano on top. And there you have your frittata all ready to go into the oven for your dinner, and it takes about 20 to 25 minutes to cook at about 180 degrees. Okay, so now pretend that's cooking, but it has. We're going to leave it and we're going to come over to our mussels. Our mussels in saffron with pumpkin, okay? So we're going to cook the mussels, and I'm going to show you how to cook those. We're going to add our other ingredients, which is basically cooked in a chicken stock. But before we do that, we're going to cook our onions. And so I've just roughly chopped, you can see very roughly chopped the onions just to give them a little bit more flavour. And we're putting them in some, or they are in, some oil and some butter. Just move that to there, and I'll put that over there. Those of you who are familiar with this kitchen will feel quite at home, I hope, watching these movies. I'll just put a little bit more oil in there. So while that's slowly cooking, we're going to cook it for about 5 or so minutes. I'll just get these other ingredients ready here. So we have our garlic, which we'll put in the pot. Now you just crush your garlic with the back of your knife. I sort of gave it a crush beforehand. And take off those awful bits. roughly chop it, so there's no particular chopping knife skills required here. That's just going to go in with the pumpkin in a moment. And I have chopped up all the pumpkin for you. And the reason that it's in odd shapes and sizes is basically because I use the offcuts from the nice little pumpkin cubes I used in the frittata. But that won't matter because it's just going to be cooked in the stock. I'll just keep an eye on this while I'm going. Now that it's starting to sizzle a little bit, I may just turn it down for a second or two. There we go. So we'll prepare the mussels and cook the mussels as well. I thought I would just show you approximately what 500 grams of pumpkin looks like. So if you're buying it, it's probably about half one of those quarters that you buy in the supermarket. That's about 500 grams. And the most time-consuming part of the whole dish is basically preparing and peeling the pumpkin. And I did end up with pumpkin hands, which luckily came clean. So we're going to use saffron in this, and saffron's a lovely spice, a beautiful spice to use, but it does need, you just need a few threads. We're going to use about so many, a pinch. I'm just going to put them into this stock, and I'm going to heat the stock to have the saffron colour infuse so that we'll get the colour out of it when we're doing our soup. Mind you, it will continue to infuse in the soup because the soup's going to be simmered as well. So that's nice sizzling going on there with our onions. So with the mussels, I don't know how many of you are used to cleaning and cooking with mussels, but we use mussels a lot here, and they're a very inexpensive meal for you. You can eat them with a pasta, you can eat them in stews. Sometimes we make a fish puree, we always put mussels in. When you're cleaning them, I thought I'd just show you the things that you need to watch out for. You need to watch out for the little beard. You don't want that. Also, to tell whether the mussel is alive or dead, it must be closed when you cook it. Now, see how that's closing? It actually closed there while you're watching. Okay, so we know that that one's alive. The little beard we'll put to one side. So this afternoon, I actually cleaned all of those, and look, when I did them, they were all closed. See how that one's open? But as I touch it, I know it's alive because it's closing. See? So if it doesn't close, you throw it out because you know it's dead. So all of these, I didn't have to throw any out today. So they all are closed, as you can see. Oh, wrong way. And sometimes there's only a little bit of beard. These days the mussels are pretty clean. You can see that the fish, see, all closed, all closed. And if that one's a little bit of a worry too, just put it on the bench and I'm sure it will close in a second. We're going to cook the mussels in 100 mils of white wine. And when I was cutting up all this parsley today, I used the parsley stalks. I put those in the bottom of my pot so that we'd get a bit of extra flavour. So 100 mils of wine. If you've got a very big pot, you might like to use a little bit more. You need enough to cover the bottom of the pot. That's about 100. In fact, it is 100. So that's not quite enough, as you can see. See, that's not quite enough for my pot to cover the bottom. So I'm going to actually add some more. Just some more water. So that's about all you need, about 1 centimetre worth of water in the bottom of the pot. And you are going to put that on the heat. And when it comes to the boil, you're going to throw your mussels in all at once. I'm going to bring it over here. Oh, see the colour from the saffron already? See how it's coming out into the beautiful chicken stock? So it's releasing all its beautiful flavour. And, oh, it's got a beautiful smell, which you can't smell, unfortunately, because you're not here. It's got a beautiful smell of saffron too. So I'm going to swap these over. Put that there. Turn that off. Onions are coming along nicely. We don't want them coloured, there's just a little bit of red there, but that's okay. I'm going to move that pumpkin part so that it doesn't come to some catastrophic end. might just turn that heat right down. We're going to add our garlic, and then we're going to add our pumpkin. So be very careful when you add the garlic. You do not want that to cook to burn. You just want it to sit in that hot oil and butter for a moment, just for a minute. And then I'm going to add my pumpkin. Just toss it around in the pan a bit. You're not colouring it, you're just tossing it around. If you wanted to colour it a little bit, you could, because if you colour it a little bit, it will just give extra flavour, which is what we're wanting. When you cook, you have to remember that what you're wanting to do is to develop the flavour in your food. It's all about cooking for flavour. Taste, obviously, flavour. Okay. One thing I'm just thinking when I'm talking about taste and flavour, I didn't actually season that. I did season this well, however, I'm going to season it now. And you could season your, which is probably what I would have preferred to have done, season, oh, did I forget to put those in? I think I did. Season your milk liquid there. Okay, so if you season that, give it a taste, you'll know exactly that it's fine. But as I didn't, I'll just have a hit and miss here. And hopefully that's all good. So now getting back to our mussels, I might, just while I do the mussels, I think I'll add our chicken stock. So we've got 500 mils of chicken stock, litre rather, of chicken stock. You could add some fish stock as well if you wanted to. Oh, you can probably see, you probably saw how thick and luscious that chicken stock was. It was our chicken stock that we make here. So leave that there, and I'm going to leave that on to simmer while we cook our mussels. So, oh look, he's opened up again. See if they close. They should, because they just did. Yes. Oh, we're having, this doesn't always happen so quickly. Is he going to close? Give him a little tap, wake him up. Is he closing? No. Never mind, we'll leave him, we don't need him. So we'll put all of these in. Oh, not ready yet. So, put it on our wok burner because that's the strongest heat. Put the lid on. And we will wait now for that to boil. As soon as it's boiled, you can throw all the mussels in at once, and then we'll take them out as they open. With mussels, you don't want them to sit in that hot liquid for a long time, because if you do allow them to sit in there, they overcook. And I think one of the reasons why people say they don't like mussels especially is because they're tough when they eat them. They shouldn't be tough, they should be really nice and tender. And to make sure they're tender, you have to take them out as they cook and not leave them in the pot for too long. So, which is exactly what we will do. Oh, what a shame he didn't close. He must have got exhausted with all the opening and closing. So we'll throw him out, take him downstairs and put him in the bin. Oh, and I'll also add the stock with the saffron here. Add the stock with the saffron to my pot with pumpkin cooking. Little saffron threads. It's a good day to be cooking today because it's all cold and raining outside, and I think we'll probably get a few cold and rainy days over the next little period of time that'll keep us indoors. And things like this can be quite a lot of fun to cook with your family, perhaps with your children. Certainly roasted pumpkin, everyone seems to like roasted pumpkin. And if there is this little bit of pumpkin left over, you can actually make that into a soup by just adding some chicken stock or even some water if you don't have any chicken stock. A little bit of cream and mullying it up or pureeing it with your kitchen wand, which is what we're going to do with our mussel soup later on. And you've got a little lunch for the kids, they might like it. So let's have a look in here and see if this is boiling. Almost. So that's nearly boiling and ready to go. One thing I am missing this afternoon are my lovely girls in the kitchen who help me. So I can't be passing dishes to them and expecting them to be all washed up. They'll be washed up by me at the end of the day. And I've been told, I have spoken to them both, and they both have reasonable hours. Sylvia is able to continue working in her day job, which is a software developer, and Ellie is working, she's got a few shifts as her barista, in her barista work, while she's still studying her cooking, commercial cookery. So here we go, boiling nicely. We're going to tip them all in all at once. Give them a juggle around. Oops. Give them a juggle around. Here we go. Juggle, juggle. Shake, shake. The reason that you do that is to distribute the heat so that they all get a feeling of the heat in the bottom and in the nice wine that I can smell, the wine and the water in there. And they put this over to the higher hottest stove. So when we've cooked the mussels, the plan is to remove them all from the shell. Obviously we don't want the mussels in the shell. You might like to leave a few in the shell as a garnish for your soup. We actually only need 500 grams of mussels, and in here we've got a kilo of mussels. A kilo of mussels costs about $10 from the fishmonger, and so it's a very inexpensive dish, as I said before. And they will keep for a few days in the fridge as well, so out of their shells or in their shells. I like to take them out of their shells and just pop them in a little plastic container. So let's have a look. Not quite. Not quite, not quite. So we'll, over here we've got our star anise. We've got my 3-star anise that goes in the soup, which you must remember to take out. 2-star anise actually. 2. Put in. And we've got a little bit of thyme. Oh, which I've already got out. Just a little bit of thyme because I don't have fresh thyme, as I said before, but a sprig of thyme is nice. It's going in there. Michael, you might like to look at that pot. That looks really pretty in there. I've got my trusty video man here. There he is. Thank you. And I may, while we're waiting for those mussels, I may just add a sprinkling of my sage. I did put sage in this one here, and I forgot it for this one that we're going to eat later. There we go. Put a few more chives on the top as well. And let's have a look at my mussels. Yes. Oh yes, look. Look at this, Michael. Look. Opening up really nicely. So get them out as fast as you can. There'll often be a few stubborn ones that don't open, so we'll put the lid back on and give them another shake around and see whether they're happy to go. Interesting different colours. Some of them are white and some of them are orangey pink. The mussels these days are cleaned quite well when you get them, so you don't have to scrub them like we used to. We used to have to scrub them on the outside with either the back of the knife or a scrubbing brush, but I think they must put them through a rolling machine or something or other because they're really pretty clean and they don't have much in the way of barnacles and things on the outside. Oh, this is very good. Oh, here's open. Now this liquor that's in the bottom of the pan, the water and the wine, we're going to strain it and add that to our soup. My seafood I get from the South Melbourne market, Aptus Fish Store there, who are now home delivering as well as order and collect. You can go and collect it from the market on Thursdays. And my fruit and vegetables is from Frank's Fruit and Vegetables there too, and they've looked after me very well for a long time. And I'm ordering everything online with them too. There's a list of the suppliers that I use on my Facebook page, if anybody would like to know the suppliers that I use there. Sometimes if you haven't been to a market before, it's quite nice to have someone else's recommendation. Now those ones are being a little bit slow to open, so I'll put the lid on and give them a shake. Give them a couple of chances. In the meantime, we're going to take these out of their shells. Michael, you might like to come over here and I'll show you. You want to release them from their little abductor. Okay, these are still quite hot. Their little abductor muscle there, so you want to take them out. I'll just put them in a little bowl. And I might just keep on checking these. Oh, not much joy here. Oh, a little bit. A little bit. Just one. Oh, two. I'll leave that on just for a minute, but we don't need them all, so it doesn't matter if they don't all come out. So I'm only going to do half of these, luckily, because we don't only need half. And then we're going to wait until the pumpkin and the stock and the onion and the garlic and the other aromatics come to the boil until the pumpkin gets tender. So when the pumpkin's tender, we will take it out. Sorry, we'll take the pot off the stove. We'll get the stick blender. And we will blend it. Put the mussels in as well. Blend it with the there. We'll blend it with the blender, going bzzz, and we'll blend the pumpkin first in the stock, and then we'll add our mussels, blend it again, and then we'll add a few more mussels so that we've got some mussels floating in the soup as well. But you can do that either way. If you don't want to actually eat the mussels, you can blend them all. I'm going to reserve a few of the shells to serve on the side as a garnish. And when you are serving the soup, if you want to give it a taste and see how it is for salt and pepper, so you might want to give it some grinds of sea salt and some nice cracked pepper. And you might also want to give it a little swirl of cream as a finishing off, and a little bit of extra parsley to finish off too. So rather than watch me continuing on doing this, you know what I'm going to do now. So when my oh look, here it is, it's actually come to a simmer. I'm just going to continue simmering that, and it looks very pretty in there with that lovely colour of pumpkin and the few bits of the pinch of thyme and the star anise. Oh, what I haven't done is drain my liquor here. So I'll do that before I say goodbye. So we've got our new Scott towel, which I wet so that it sticks nicely in my soup. There you go. We've got a few old parsley stalks there. That little mussel is just opened, so we can eat that one. Put those in there. The reason that I like to strain it is because sometimes the mussels, or the mussel liquor, the mussels will give off a little bit of sand or grit, and you don't want that. So there's your mussel liquor, which will taste really very nice. And in fact, if I do taste it, it'll taste of the sea. It'll taste just like seawater. Which it does. It's a good idea to taste it before you add it to whatever you're cooking, because sometimes if it's too salty, you might be concerned about it, but as we haven't salted this, and you wouldn't be salting it and seasoning it until the end anyway, but putting that in will add a lovely depth of flavour and to accompany your mussels. So that's all I'm going to do for you today, and I look forward to seeing you someday soon. So goodbye from me and my Cooking on the Bay kitchen, and welcome to our new method of cooking together. Bye-bye.